The chase for flawlessness never stops in Hollywood. Cosmetic surgery offers youth, beauty, relevance, a way to outrun time itself. But at times, the blade goes too far. At times, the promise of improvement turns into a nightmare of distortion. Tonight, we are exploring 10 female celebrities whose plastic surgery went disastrously wrong. These are not cautionary stories about subtle changes or small regrets. These are accounts of fixation, failed operations, and transformations so extreme they crossed from refinement into something unrecognizable. Some searched for beauty and found infamy. Others pursued an ideal that was never real. All of them paid a cost no surgeon ever warned them about. 10. Jocelyn Wildenstein, the socialite whose face became the most notorious example of plastic surgery gone wrong in modern history. Born in Switzerland in 1940, she married immense wealth through billionaire art dealer Alec Wildenstein. From the outside, their life looked flawless, but Alec's obsession with big cats shaped everything, and Jocelyn, desperate to keep his attention, made a choice that changed her forever. She began procedures meant to create a feline appearance. Eyes pulled into sharp angles, cheekbones lifted unnaturally high, lips repeatedly injected, jaw and chin altered. The surgeries escalated far beyond what any ethical surgeon should have allowed. By the time the marriage collapsed in the late 1990s, Alec left her anyway, and her face was unrecognizable. The tabloids called her Catwoman. Reports claimed she spent more than $4 million, but the true loss was personal. Her face became a global symbol of surgical excess, a warning whispered in every cosmetic office. She tried to save her marriage through transformation and instead became a spectacle. The tragedy is that she chased an impossible standard shaped by someone else's desires. Her face no longer belonged to her. Her transformation stunned the world, but the next story is about a lifetime spent reshaping an identity until the person beneath nearly vanished. 9. Pete Burns, the pop icon whose transformation became one of the most dramatic in British celebrity history. Rising to fame in the 1980s as the frontman of Dead or Alive, Pete Burns was not only known for his hit You Spin Me Round Like a Record, he was known for his bold and androgynous appearance. But what began as playful self-expression soon turned into an obsession with aesthetic perfection. Burns started experimenting with lip fillers, cheek implants, and reconstructive procedures that would change his face beyond recognition. In the late 1990s, a single lip injection went catastrophically wrong. The filler caused massive swelling and infections, forcing him to undergo more than 100 reconstructive surgeries to save his face, and, at one point, his life. He later revealed that he nearly lost his lips completely and was left in constant pain. Yet even as the physical toll increased, Burns refused to disappear. He appeared on talk shows and reality television, openly honest about the results of his choices, turning his trauma into a form of performance art. Pete's transformation became both his shield and his ruin, a defiance of conformity that ultimately consumed him. He once said he did not see himself as male or female, only as a total work of art. But behind that defiance was a lifetime of procedures, infections, and hospitalizations that left his body fragile. When he passed away in 2016, the public remembered not only his music, but the haunting price of his self-reinvention. His story was a warning hidden as a spectacle, but the next victim did not even know she was being injected with dangerous substances. 8. Priscilla Presley. Elvis Presley's former wife and a successful actress in her own right was once seen as one of the most beautiful women in the world. Her classic features and graceful presence made her a Hollywood icon. Then she became the target of a con artist posing as a cosmetic surgeon, a nightmare situation that would leave her permanently disfigured. In the early 2000s, a man claiming to be a licensed cosmetic surgeon approached Presley and other wealthy clients, offering exclusive in-home treatments. What he was actually injecting into their faces was not medical grade filler or approved substances. It was industrial grade silicone, the kind used in automotive applications, similar to car lubricant. The imposter had no medical training whatsoever. He was later arrested and imprisoned for fraud and practicing medicine without a license, but the damage to his victims was already catastrophic and irreversible. Presley's face began developing hard lumps and uneven contours. The industrial silicone moved through her facial tissue, creating painful nodules and permanent swelling. compelling. Unlike medical-grade substances that can sometimes be dissolved or removed, industrial silicone integrates into tissue in ways that make removal nearly impossible without causing severe additional damage. She underwent multiple corrective procedures, but doctors could only do so much. The beautiful bone structure and smooth skin she once had were compromised forever. Presley has spoken about the experience as a warning to others, stressing that convenience and promises of discretion should never outweigh safety. She trusted the wrong person and paid with her face. Her victimization was criminal, but the next transformation came from voluntary excess that spiraled out of control. 7. Donatella Versace. The fashion designer who inherited her brother Gianni's legendary empire after his tragic murder in 1997 faced crushing pressure to embody the glamorous image her family name represented while running a billion-dollar company. Donatella had always been striking with platinum blonde hair and strong Italian features. But as the years passed and the pressure increased, her face began shifting in ways that stunned even the fashion industry accustomed to cosmetic enhancement. Her skin became unusually tight, stretched to the point where natural movement seemed impossible. Her lips enlarged dramatically, taking on an exaggerated shape that dominated her face. Her cheekbones became so pronounced they appeared structural rather than human. The overall effect was startling, a face that looked like it had been pulled, filled, and altered beyond recognition. While Versace has never publicly confirmed specific procedures, experts have speculated about multiple facelifts, extensive filler use, and possible implants. The irony is profound. Donatella designs clothing that celebrates and enhances natural beauty, yet her own appearance suggests an inability to accept her natural aging process. She has become one of fashion's most recognizable faces, but not for the reasons she might have hoped. Instead of being praised for her design genius or business skill, she is often cited as an example of cosmetic surgery gone too far, a symbol of an industry so obsessed with perfection that even its leaders cannot escape the pressure to modify themselves into something no longer quite human. Her transformation symbolized fashion's obsession with perfection, but another former supermodel's surgical journey would become even more cautionary. 6. Janice Dickinson. The woman who declared herself the world's first supermodel was once undeniably stunning. Angular features, fierce eyes, a commanding presence that dominated runways and magazine covers throughout the 1970s and 80s. But the pressure to maintain that status as she aged led her down a surgical path she would later deeply regret and speak about with startling candor. Dickinson underwent multiple facelifts, breast augmentations, liposuction, Botox treatments, and various other procedures over the years. But unlike many celebrities who remain silent about their regrets, she has been remarkably open about the physical and emotional consequences. She has spoken about complications from surgeries, infections, scarring, procedures that did not heal properly. She has admitted that many of her decisions were driven by vanity, pressure from boyfriends, and the modeling industry's brutal standards that worship youth and discard women the moment they show signs of aging. In interviews, she has expressed remorse about her breast augmentations in particular, saying she should never have had them done. She has discussed how the constant pursuit of surgical perfection became almost addictive, always one more procedure away from satisfaction that never actually arrived. Her face, which was once naturally photogenic and expressive, became tighter and less mobile with each intervention. What makes her story valuable is her honesty. She does not hide from her mistakes or pretend she is happy with every decision. Instead, she has used her experience as a cautionary example, warning younger models and actresses about the psychological trap of believing that surgery will solve deeper insecurity. Her candor made her story instructive, but another actress's botched procedures would damage both her body and her career. 5. Tara Reid. The actress who became famous in American Pie as the sweet, bubbly Vicky was poised for a successful Hollywood career in the early 2000s. She was young, naturally pretty, and had the kind of girl-next-door appeal that casting directors loved. Then she underwent liposuction and breast augmentation procedures that went catastrophically wrong, and her life changed forever. The liposuction left her abdomen severely uneven and irregularly contoured. Instead of the smooth, toned stomach she had hoped for, she was left with visible lumps, indentations, and asymmetry that became painfully obvious in photographs. The breast augmentation was equally disastrous. Her implants were positioned incorrectly, leaving her breasts misshapen and uneven. When she appeared at red carpet events, the botched results were visible and became instant tabloid fodder. Reid has spoken emotionally about the experience, calling the surgical results her battle wounds, and admitting that the criticism and body shaming devastated her self-esteem. She has described feeling humiliated and exposed, with her physical imperfections discussed globally. The botched procedures did not just affect her emotionally, they damaged her career significantly. Casting directors became hesitant to hire her. She went from being a rising star to being known primarily for her surgical disasters. She eventually underwent corrective procedures, including a donut mastopexy and additional liposuction to even out her abdomen, but the damage, both physical and professional, had lasting effects. Reed's story highlights a reality often overlooked in discussions about cosmetic surgery. When procedures go wrong, the consequences extend far beyond appearance. They can destroy careers, mental health, and sense of self in ways that no corrective surgery can fully repair. Her botched procedures destroyed her career trajectory. Coming up, more cautionary tales of surgical disasters that changed lives forever, or before. Melanie Griffith, the Academy Award nominated performer who drew viewers in Working Girl and inherited her mother Tippi Hedren's timeless looks, seemed to possess the kind of face that would mature beautifully. Her features were naturally animated, inviting, and recognizable, but as she entered her 40s and Hollywood opportunities started fading, she sought cosmetic treatments to maintain her youthful look, a choice that would alter her face in ways she later acknowledged she had not even realized until others mentioned it. Over time, Griffith went through numerous procedures, facelifts, lip plumping, fillers, Botox injections. Slowly, her face shifted, her lips grew visibly larger and slightly misshapen, her skin took on an overly slick, artificial look, her expressions became restricted, locked by too much Botox. The natural appeal that had carried her career disappeared beneath layers of modification. She has said in interviews that she did not see how extreme the changes had become until she saw photographs and understood she looked overworked. Media scrutiny was unrelenting. Each public outing produced fresh discussion about her altered appearance. The backlash carried a heavy emotional cost. She has spoken of the hurt of realizing her attempts to protect beauty had actually made her unfamiliar. In reaction to the criticism, Griffith made the hard choice to reverse some of the work, dissolving fillers, reducing lip volume, letting her face move back towards something nearer to its natural condition. Her experience exposes a harsh reality about Hollywood's handling of aging women. At 40, Griffith believed she needed to change herself to stay employable. The industry that had praised her natural beauty made her feel that aging naturally was not tolerated. Her surgical path reflects not only personal pride, but systemic force that pressures women toward changes they later wish they had not made. Her efforts to hold on to youth failed in public, but another performer's transformation would erase her defining features entirely. The 3. Lil' Kim, the hip-hop legend who transformed the industry with her bold sexuality and fearless confidence in the 1990s, was striking and unforgettable. Her natural features were unique, a young black woman with strong bone structure and undeniable presence. She motivated a generation. Then, through the years, her face began shifting in ways that stunned and upset her supporters, who watched as she appeared to chase features that looked nothing like her original face. Her nose became sharply slimmer through repeated rhinoplasties. Her skin tone lightened markedly. She has credited this to vitiligo, though many remain doubtful. Her cheeks became rounder, suggesting heavy filler use or implants. Her entire face structure shifted to the point where side-by-side comparisons with her younger self are nearly impossible to believe. The transformation triggered hard discussions about colorism, beauty standards, and the pressure black women experience to follow Eurocentric models of beauty. Kim has stood by her decisions, stating she is satisfied with how she looks. But past interviews reveal deep self-doubt tied to an abusive relationship where her partner repeatedly criticized her appearance. Those scars push surgical choices that feel less about improvement and more about removing the face she had been told was not acceptable. The tragedy is that her first features were strong and singular, part of what made her iconic. By changing them so completely, she lost what made her recognizable. Her transformation became a warning story about internalized standards and how trauma can push people to surgically change themselves in search of approval. The queen bee, who had broken every rule, could not avoid the standards that told her she was not. Enough as she was, her transformation triggered painful discussions about beauty standards, but another cherished actress's surgical changes would crush fans who had loved her natural warmth. There were two. Meg Ryan, America's darling. The performer whose bright grin and girl-next-door charm shaped romantic comedies through the 1990s seemed to represent reachable beauty. She appeared like someone you might meet, date, fall deeply for. Her natural liveliness made her ideal for parts that needed warmth and familiarity. Then, in the middle of the 2000s, fans started observing major shifts in her face, changes that would eventually finish her time as Hollywood's most adored romantic lead. Her lips turned dramatically fuller, taking on a soft, overfilled look that seemed puffy rather than improved. The easy movement and expressiveness that had made her smile so appealing became restricted and warped. Her cheeks gained an odd fullness that altered her face's complete structure. The trademark smile that had launched countless romantic comedies could hardly move. The change was shocking. This was no longer the woman audiences had fallen for in When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail. Ryan eventually acknowledged regret over her cosmetic choices, admitting that she had made decisions she now doubted. But by that point, the damage to her professional life was complete. Directors stopped reaching out. Audiences could not connect the new face with the woman they had loved. Hollywood, it became clear, was merciless. The industry that had pushed her to keep youth turned away from her when she tried to do so through surgery. Her account is especially tragic because she had never been ugly. She aged naturally in her early 40s and still appeared lovely, but the drive to maintain her youthful look led her toward procedures that erased the very appeal that had made her famous. Her natural, reachable beauty. Her transformation closed a legendary career, but the #1 position belongs to the most devastating surgical account of all. For one, Joan Rivers. The legendary comic who built a career on fearless truth and self-mocked humor was strikingly open about her connection with plastic surgery. She joked endlessly about the procedures she had undergone, often saying she had so much work done that her driver's license showed a different person each time. The humor covered a more layered and ultimately tragic reality about her surgical path and what it exposed about aging in the entertainment world. Rivers underwent countless operations across her decades-long career, multiple facelifts, eyelid surgeries, neck lifts, Botox, fillers, and countless other changes. She was so open about it that she became almost linked with plastic surgery itself. But under the jokes was a woman who felt she had no alternative. In entertainment, especially for women, aging naturally means career death. Rivers believed, perhaps rightly, that her continued work depended on holding onto a youthful look no matter the cost. By her later years, her face had become heavily altered. Her features were drawn so tight that natural expression was nearly impossible. Her skin had the waxy, unnatural look that comes from excessive procedures. The woman who had been naturally beautiful in her youth had changed herself into something that appeared almost artificial, yet she kept joking about it, using humor as both shield and comment on the impossible standards women face. The most devastating part of her story is not the physical change, it is what it stood for. Rivers, brilliant and talented, felt she could not age naturally and survive professionally. Her surgical path was less about vanity and more about industry survival. When she died in 2014 from complications after a routine throat procedure, her death revealed another reality. Surgical addiction is real, and even minor procedures carry risks that grow with age and earlier surgical history. Rivers once said, "I wish I had a twin so I could know what I'd look like without plastic surgery." That line, offered as a joke, held deep sadness. She had altered herself so widely that she had lost track of who she had been before the industry convinced her that natural aging was career suicide.